Hello and welcome to Dream Garage, the podcast where we put together a dream car collection. Each week there'll be a new theme with a specific budget. We'll browse the classifieds and decide on which car we would buy for our dream garage. This week it's a supercar for 65k. Now when I think of a supercar, I think of a mid-engined, rear-wheel drive, very high performance, fast acceleration, lots of power, exotic looks. So let's have a look at what comes up in our filter. So I'm going to sort by price, high to low. And I've made it so that we've got a choice of manual or auto boxes. I've gone from between 50 and 65k, and I've not specified a drivetrain. I've just said there's a minimum of 350 brake horsepower and it's a coupe body style. So let's see. And I've also said it's 0 to 4 seconds to 60 as well. So we've got an Aston Martin DB11 with 38,000 miles. That's 65k. A Porsche 911 Turbo, the 991, so it's a 2014, that's 65k. Mercedes-Benz AMG GT, which I really like, even though they are all auto boxes. I do really like the AMG GTs. I think they're cool. DB11s, Nissan GTR, RS5. I wouldn't really call a RS5 a supercar. Lotus Evora. They're kind of, I think, highly underrated. Is it a supercar or a sports car? I don't know. The acceleration, the performance on those is very good. The handling is all there. The GTRs, F-Type, M4, I don't think they're supercars. Aston Martin Vantage, a McLaren 12C. Yeah, that was the car that launched or relaunched McLarens. They are, they have their foibles, I think, but I think they're meant to be very good cars and extremely quick as well. So in terms of performance, we're looking at 205 miles an hour, 592 brake horsepower, 3.3 seconds. And it's got the rarity factor as well. I know they're a bit Marmite. Some people think that they're a bit boring to look at, which I do understand, but I think they're still an attractive car and definitely have that supercar pedigree. So that's going in my saved list. The Aston DB11s, is that a supercar? Probably. Astons do have that slightly GT leaning, don't they? Rather than outright supercar. Lotus Exige, I don't think you can argue that is GT. That is a track weapon, isn't it? An Exige. Is it a supercar? What do we think? It's definitely got supercar performance. What else have we got? Another 12C. That's 64,949. It's on 24,000 miles. Carbon black. Let's save that one as well. 911 Turbo. Supercars, yes. Are they exciting? Yes. Are they rare? Well, probably not that rare. Is that a factor in a supercar? I think you want that slightly exotic appearance for me. When I see a Porsche 911, I think, oh, look, it's a Porsche 911. My draw very rarely drops. An Audi R8. That's an interesting one. This is the V10 model. I'd argue that is a supercar. It's effectively a Lamborghini Gallardo. That is up for 63,900. It's done 12,000 miles. It's the V10 model. Oh, a McLaren 540C. Now this is a more modern. It's later than the 12C, so it's 2016. It uses a version of the same engine, slightly detuned, still 199 miles an hour, 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds. Save that one. The trouble with the 540Cs, I think, is that they're in a sea of, excuse the pun, they're in a sea of McLarens that all look quite similar. So that's what it's got going against it. This is a 2019 AMG GT. Is that a supercar? I mean, it says GT, so I'd say maybe it's more of a GT car. I still really like them though. I think there's room for one of them to be considered. So I'm going to find one and favourite it. BMW M8. So this is a AMG GT in a nice silver colour with red calipers. They want 62,995 for it. Just to look at the spec on these, because they are still rapid cars. 515 brake horsepower, 670 newton meters of torque, top speed of 193, and 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds. So that's definitely supercar performance, isn't it? Another 12C. I think you'll see the values of those rise in the coming years. As I say, they were effectively the rebirth of McLaren, and they hold significant historic value in that regard. Porsche Cayenne. That's the thing with the modern SUVs, super SUVs. They are exceptionally fast for an SUV. Another 540C here. It's got like flip paint by the looks of it. 570 GT. Amazing head turner. So that's again a version of the engine that the 540 used and the 12C. This one's got 562 brake horsepower, 204 miles an hour, top speed of 3.3 seconds to 60. So this is like a faster version of the 540C. I don't know huge amounts about these cars, but I'm going to put it in as a contender because it looks like a supercar to me. It's got those, scissor doors. It's got the looks. Lots of BMW M4s, Nissan GTRs, Evora. Oh, we've got a Gallardo. That we've got to consider a Lamborghini, right? Yeah, so no, it's not the highest level of Lamborghini. It's not hypercar Aventador territory, but it is an entry point into Lamborghini ownership, and I think you can count it as a supercar. So what's this one? It's a manual as well. It's a 5-litre V10. They want 59,995 for that. So what's the spec on these? 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds. So it's a little bit slower than some of the other cars on the list. 196 miles an hour and 493 brake horsepower. Interestingly, the torque is 277 newton meters. If you compare that to the McLarens we've got, so let's just look at this 540C. So what did we say? It was 270 newton meters of torque. Look at the torque difference. Look at the torque difference. This is 539 newton meters of torque. So you're going to get that real sledgehammer performance from low down, which is really important thing to consider. It's not just outright brake horsepower. So this is the 570. What's that? 600 newton meters again. 3.3 seconds to 16. So that's going to be appreciatively quicker than the Lambo. The Lambo is a manual box though. So let's have a look at what was that. I think it's a gated. Show us the box, the manual. Is it a manual? No, it's not a manual, is it? They said it was a manual, but they lied. It's not a manual whatsoever. Why do they do that? It's so irritating. So irritating. Well, anyway, it's four-wheel drive. It's got 5 litre V10 and it's a Lamborghini. It's going to be considered. The Lotus Evora 59,995. This is a GT 410, so it's got 410 brake horsepower. From the Toyota 3.5 litre V6, which is what Lotus used. They supercharged it. 410 brake horsepower, 409 newton meters of torque, 186 miles an hour top speed, and 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. So it's just on the cusp of that 0 to 4 seconds, 0 to 60 time. Is it a supercar? Is it more of a super sports car? I would think it's an interesting one, isn't it? It doesn't. I don't know why, but it's like it doesn't seem like it's going to be in the same bracket as the McLaren or indeed the Lamborghini. So I'm going to just exclude that for the moment until I've sort of come back to it. I've already got a few options here. There's another R8. Lots of BMW M4s in this bracket and Nissan GTRs. Some of you may say, "Oh, well, the Audi R8's just it's an Audi at the end of the day. It's not exotic, but it does. I think it looks really like a supercar. And when was the last time you saw one? If you see one on the road, it is a bit of a rare event, unlike a BMW M4 or a Porsche 911. So whilst the performance might be the same in those, it's still not. It's still not as much of an exciting event. I'm gonna just sort by age now, just to see what comes up on some of the older cars, and I think it's doing that thing where it doesn't actually sort by. There we go. So actually, the Gallardo is the oldest car here, 2004, and then we've got a raft of 911 turbos. So you can get some impressive machinery in this price bracket. It's obviously the highest amount of money I've put on the channel so far. £65,000 is clearly a lot of dough, isn't it? So what have we got so far? Let's have a look. We've got a Gallardo. I think anyone would be happy to call a Lamborghini and have a Lamborghini in their garage. We've got a McLaren 570 GT. We've got a Mercedes AMG GTS. We've got a McLaren 540C. We've got an R8, 5.2 R8. We've got a McLaren 12C, or two McLaren 12Cs. So let's just look at these two here. They're both pretty much the same price. One's a 2011 with 23,000 in a dark blue colour. It's got like black wheels. The other one is carbon black, which I think, and that's a 2012. It's done roughly the same mileage. So that's done 24. That's done 24 more or less. So let's get rid of the blue one because I actually think the black one looks better. And then we've got the Audi R8, and then we've got three McLarens here: a 570 GT, a 540C, and a 12C. If we look at the 12C. Looks wise, it's probably not as, it doesn't look as modern as the newer ones, but it does look different at least. And if we look at the spec, it's I think it's the most powerful and the fastest out of all of these. 3.3 seconds. So let's have a look at the 570, which is the next fastest. .3 seconds, 562 brake horsepower. So that's 3.3 seconds. And that was 3.3 seconds. What was this one? 3.3 seconds as well. So I think dynamically, the 570 GT will be at a higher level. It's a more modern machine. They learnt from what happened in the 12C. It's the same engine. It's slightly detuned, but it's as quick to 60. And I think handling wise, so let's say the 570 GT is the McLaren of choice. And then we've got an R8 V10, which I think is slower. I think is less exciting. It is slower. It's less exciting to look at than the McLaren. Let's rule that out. Then we got the Mercedes-Benz, which I said was probably more of a GT anyway. But I do really like it. I think they're stunning looking cars. I don't think it can compare to the McLaren. And then we've got a Lambo, the Gallardo, which is, as I said, the entry-level Lamborghini. But is it worth its place here above the McLaren? Having never driven either of these cars, it's hard to say. It's slower. And I think it's not the most desirable Lamborghini. But I'm going to say that the 570 GT is my supercar of choice in the budget. So it's the McLaren 570 GT. It's done 31,000 miles. It's a 2016 and they want 61,000 for it. But I think we could probably do a deal at 58. So let's say I got my carbon black McLaren 570 GT for £58,000, and this will be the most expensive car in our garage, and rightly so, because it is an extremely high performance supercar and it has the looks and everything else to match. So thank you very much for watching. A bit of a shorter one this week, unexpectedly. I think we zeroed in quite quickly on this when I realised that something like this would be available in the budget. Let me know your thoughts. Would you have gone for the same car? Do you think we should have chosen something else? And please leave me a comment and let me know. Thanks very much.